Hello everyone, welcome back to my backyard street lighting display. What you're looking at here is a 1964 Westinghouse OV-25 Silverliner. This is the fairly uncommon transitional second generation model where they used a lot of first gen parts and then a couple of the new stuff, obviously. So this was the very first of the single door OV-25 design, moving away from the flat bottom two-door design, which really was just one door and a panel. I need to fix my flat bottom up to get a video of it so you can see the parallels with that and this fixture. But for now, I'll just film this because despite being 1 year apart, the caps are really good on this one and the caps on that one are not great. So I got this about a year ago, probably on the mark right now. I want to say it was around this time last year, off of Marketplace in Oklahoma. There were two of these, and me and one of my friends, who also is into lighting, went out there and bought these. And great purchase. It seems like these were taken down probably 30 years ago or more. Maybe even more than that, and preserved in some kind of barn or something because they're in really great shape. So this was definitely an old OG&E special or Oklahoma Gas and Electric special. There's probably still to this day at least a couple dozen of these still in use out there. I saw a fair amount of them along with flat bottoms in couple towns while I was going out to get these, actually, which was neat. But anyways, this is more familiar to most people design, and it has a lot of similarities to the 65 and up version, but there's also some differences. And of course, since this has the photocell socket molding press circles for both sides, that's how I know for a fact this is a 65 OV-25 plus the date code. But this one just has the flat bottom PC location, which is at the front basically. It's gonna be right there. Just clarify, yeah. So you can kind of see the circle of where it would be if it had it. But of course, most of the Oklahoma lights were on relays or remote photocells, so this one is no different. It doesn't have a photocell at all. And I only have I think one Silverliner that actually has a photocell. And it's not even the standard one, it's one of these over here, the two-door. So everything else I have is no photocell at all. But other than the photocell socket location, there is another indicator besides the glass that you can tell in the wild. If you get a camera like mine and you zoom in, only the 64 models have those two little dots right there, which is for this retaining clip on the hinge to help hold it in. They redesigned this hinge a little bit in 65 to where they didn't have this retaining clip, and it holds in the door a little better. This isn't a bad design at all, but I think that for random violent spurts where somehow this latch fails and the door swings open, this design will hold the door a little better. So it has these two little tabs here that hold it in place on the door instead of the retaining clip that this one has. So you can kind of see there's a slight difference there. Otherwise it's fundamentally the same, and of course this is like a spring clip basically right there. So yeah, aside from those things, and then obviously the glass, the W will be right here on the bottom of these in the 64 OV-25s, and by 65 they were put on the front. But if you remember from my video of this fixture, this is a replacement lens from an older OV-25 anyway, So it is on the bottom, but that's because this is from a flat bottom. So yeah, that's the exterior differences, and we'll take a look now at the interior differences here. So open this up. Oh, and one more thing I forgot to mention. The latches on only the 64 OV-25s have this nice logo and the push to close lettering on them. Every other OV-25 after that does not, and before that for that matter. So that was a 1 year only thing, which is really neat. So as you can see, it doesn't have your standard second or third generation ballast style. This is a flat bottom ballast basically. This is the Westinghouse red Gliptol ballast that they made from like I want to say 60 or 59 maybe to 64. And then the terminal block is not ceramic like the other ones are. It's Bakelite, just like the flat bottoms. And then it has this capacitor like shelf here, this metal plate, a bracket that holds the caps in. I don't know why. I mean, I guess it's just because it's a carryover design, because obviously the flat bottom has the optical door hinges right there, and then the ballast is kind of in the optical door. That's how those were or are. And these later OV-25s still have the standoffs for that, I believe. I guess let me open it up and see. It's nice to have these two next to each other to compare. Yeah, it does. So it does still have the standoffs. So they cast the top housing almost identical all the way until 1979. Of course, differences with this is that the caps were mounted on the strap there, and then the terminal block was right there, and there was no extra plate or anything to hold them in. Of course, this is a replacement ballast, so it doesn't have both capacitors like it would have normally. But yeah, so that's different. And then also, actually I think that's really those are the only differences that I can think of off the top of my head. And then the gasket is also the neoprene rubber, like the older ones. This one would have had a felt gasket, which they started doing in 1965, but it was toast, so I pulled it off. But yeah, so I think that covers almost everything. And then the last thing is the fixture tag would be on the door, which is why it's kind of cooked, because it got a lot more heat exposure. They moved it to up here on either side on the newer ones. And the socket is the same, typical Westinghouse spade connector socket. They've been using that for a long time. And I really can't think of much else. This also used this kind of like brass bolt, which later ones did not. This is actually a better design. They're either brass or bronze. They don't seem to rust. Maybe they're not actually. They might be like aluminum or something with like a anodized coating on them. But they're very nice. And I put a 1.25 inch adapter on here that I used off my OV-14B, because they mount to it, to all of these. So I figured that'd be kind of nice to put that on it so it's a little bit more level, because really this is designed with a 2-inch arm in mind. And then if you wanted a smaller arm, which is what this is, 1.25 inch, then you would buy that additional little piece that just screws in. So sorry to yap so much about this, but it is a rather interesting fixture that not a lot of people have, because they were only made for 1 year. So finding them, oh come on, get on there. Oh. Wait, one more thing. There is the hinge. You can see that retaining clip there, so you pop that off and twist the door and then it comes off. So that's how that works. Sorry. Sorry about that. Okay. So we'll go ahead and fire it up now. I know it's like 10 minutes into the video. Luckily it has a lifeguard in there, so it'll warm up pretty quickly. And yeah. So of course, like always, these are my absolute favorite fixtures, and this is my favorite arm and fixture combination for wood pulls, I think, is these lime material or McGraw-Edison arms. Either the 4-foot single guy, the 4-foot just on its own, the 6-foot single guy, 6-foot on its own, or the 8-foot, and then the big 12 or 10, 12, and 16-foot variants. They're all my favorites. So, here we go. Fire it up. It's slightly buzzy, but not too bad. And it has a really good power factor for being this old. So 64 means this is a 61-year-old fixture. So pretty neat. Definitely very fortunate to have a large collection of these OV-25s, and I'll probably end up with more, I'm sure, because I don't have a proper 3rd generation one. Now, one of my friends has been lending me his, which is that one right there, which I'm going to make a video on that to compare between these two that I have right here. But I don't have one for my own, and I would really like to have a 3rd gen with the photocell on the top. Just because locally all the 3rd gens that are on steel poles with no photocells are 480 volt ballast. I don't think any of them have a lower voltage tap at all. If they do, it's going to be 240. So not really useful for me, and I like to have one with an original ballast because other than this one and the flat bottom, none of my OV-20, and the 2-door and the 4th gen, now that I think about it. Other than those, I don't have any others with original ballast. So actually, that doesn't make any sense. The only one that doesn't have the original ballast is the 65 that is next to me. And I do have it, it's just it was a 240 only ballast, so I had no use for that. I kept it, and it worked. On 120 it would light up and get to about what was it? Maybe like 120 watts, something like that. It wouldn't go nearly as high as it should have. So, kind of a bummer. Although, honestly, in retrospect, it could have been the caps were just drifting. But I remember it would shut off, and that's something that usually 120 volt ballasts will do when they're on, 240 volt ballasts will do when they're running on lower voltage. Is they'll just kind of shut off and then come back on. So I might test the capacitors and see if they're good, and if they're not good, I might replace them and see how it performs in a different fixture. And if it actually is still a good ballast and it's actually 120, I'm going to put it back in here. Right now I have that Cooper ballast, which is effectively the same design, just a slightly smaller footprint than what would have been in there. But if I could get the original one back in there, that'd be better. So let's look at the health here real quick. So we've got a power factor of 0.95, which it usually is a little higher. That's okay. The caps are probably drifting a little bit as I continue to use it, so I'm probably going to replace these anyway. But it's nice to see that they do still work for now. When I got this and wired it up for the first time, it was like a 0.99 power factor, so they've definitely been drifting a little bit the more I've had it. And to be fair, it does sit a lot and not get used, so these older capacitors, if you don't know, will lose their charge a lot more and behave weird when you first fire them up after not using them for a while, so most of the time anyway. So they might need a couple of hours of run time to wake up, and then they'll start to get back into their normal health. I've had that happen with a couple of these lights already, where I fired it up and it was like absolutely abysmal. Like the OV-14 actually was like that, and then once it started running, the thing had a power factor of 1, so it was just perfect. So yeah, it's pretty much at full brightness here, basically. Draws a little bit higher than it should, but only by like 0.2 amps, It should be like 3.9, so that's not bad. But yeah, I think I'll replace these caps with similar looking ones, and to preserve the fixture and the original ballast, because these are really uncommon to find, you know, well, to obtain, I should say. I think there's still a lot of these in use. I know Arkansas has a bunch. My most recent trip to Arkansas a couple months back, I found a bunch of these 64 OV-25 still in operation, along with flat bottoms and 65 plus OV-25. So they're out there for sure, but it's harder to obtain them. Not a lot of people have this specific one in their collections that have the original gear or just at all, because it was a one-year thing. And I don't think anywhere locally ever used these. If anywhere did, it would have been down south towards the coast, like towards the Mexico part of the coast, like South Padre area and Corpus Christi and that kind of region, because that utility did use flat bottoms and other Cobra heads, or mostly just those, and OV-10, OV-12s, OV-14s, Unistyles, and Joslin MV-141s and things like that. So if anywhere would have these, or would have previously had them, it would be there. And honestly, some of the ones without photocells may very well be these. I haven't looked hard enough. Maybe my next trip down there I will. But yeah, I know locally, like within, you know, the 120 miles or more, nowhere had these, because we didn't use Cobra heads until probably about 66, 67, thereabouts. So at the time that this was made, we were still putting up clamshells, or OV-25 EBs, the remote ballasted version of these. So definitely not something I have really seen besides the one I have and the one that Devante or Form 109 on YouTube and Lighting Gallery has. So these two are the only ones I've had a chance to see up close. And probably, as far as I know, the only ones around me at all right now are these two. So yeah, sorry for the more long-winded video than normal, but this one is a little bit more unique than the other OV-25s I have, besides the two-door down there, which I will be making videos on. That one and the one that, because there were two of those too, and the other one, I have both of them here. I need to repair one, and the other one is already there working. So, sneak peek is that they have a factory Westinghouse metal halide ballast in them. Both of them do. And they're also the power door version, so the ballast door unplugs and you can replace it with something else. So they're pretty rare. Only two known to have those ballasts. Not the power door part, but the metal halide part, and they're from the 70s as well. So they're early and unique. Aside from those two, this is probably one of my more unique 25s that I have. So that's why I got a more long-winded video. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks again for watching. I'll definitely try to make more content. We've had a lot of rain lately, so that's been part of why I haven't been able to. I'm sure you saw about the flooding and everything in Texas. I'm nowhere near where that happened, but it still poured a lot and rained a lot here, and so I haven't been able to be outside as much because of it. So anyways, thank you again for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, peace.